Our health is one of the strongest drivers of our happiness, and one of the worst things that can happen to us is having to quit something we love doing because of an injury. When I was in high school, I was struggling so much, 5 hours a day without warm-up, without stretching, without strength exercises for an entire summer, which resulted in me injuring both my arms in 3 different places, so I had to stop. Then I started working out in the gym, often twice a day, 6 days a week, until I got a strain-triggered headache, which lasted on and off for a decade. Then I started playing basketball so much that I got my legs inflamed to such an extent that I wasn't able to run anymore. And me and my brother, both almost 2 meters tall, we lost a game to 2 children, which was awfully embarrassing. After that, I played so much ice hockey that I got lots of back pain and I had to quit. And then the last and still ongoing injury comes from running in the mountains, where I was running both up, which is okay, but also downhill when my body was tired, when my muscles weren't able to kind of cover for the impact. So I injured my hip, which unfortunately seems to be quite of a permanent injury. And all of these injuries means that I have a lot of experience dealing with injury, trying to prevent injury, but also trying to live with injury, adjusting my life accordingly, finding new hobbies, new things to give me happiness and joy. So in this video I wanted to go a bit through what I do, not just to prevent injury but also to live with injury. The first and maybe most important lesson I have learned is to do everything in moderation. And for me that has been so difficult, because when I find a new sport, a new activity, it is so fun that I throw myself into it and I do it for 5 hours a day often, and that is not a good idea. And a lot of people do this, and not only in the area of exercise and sports, but also I think in work, in gaming, in relationships. So I think everything is in moderation is a very important but also very difficult thing to always keep in mind. And then the second thing I do is that I try to do everything I can in order to keep my body as healthy and stable as possible, in order to prevent and recover quickly. And that includes nutrition. I eat mostly plant-based to kind of limit the amount of inflations in my body, to limit other kind of underlying diseases which combined with injuries could just complicate things even more. I prioritize my sleep a lot, always having regular sleeping hours, always making sure to sleep 8 hours. Now I'm experimenting with not waking up with an alarm clock to see how that affects the body, kind of sleeping in and waking up naturally. Preventative exercise is probably the most boring thing in the world, but it's also incredibly important, where you don't try to maximize the weight or push your body, but you kind of do these repetitive, boring tasks that your physiotherapist gives you. And then the last thing I do to prevent injury is keeping my stress levels low, and that of course comes from exercise, sleeping well. All of that impacts stress, but also trying to identify triggers of stress in my life. A third thing I have learned is that almost everything passes eventually. Even those injuries that you might have had for years, they often tend to pass. And in my experience, my injuries, my headache lasted for more than a decade. The injuries after juggling for maybe 2 years. And then in my experience, it tends to stop when I stop thinking about them. When I kind of come to terms with the fact that, okay, I'm going to live with this forevermore, and then I start forgetting about it a bit, then suddenly one day it's gone. And that of course is not applicable to all injuries, and it's very important to accompany this, to kind of seek medical assistance to make sure what kind of injury is it, what can you do, can you do preventative exercises, what is needed to recover from this injury. If it is the kind of injury that can pass on its own and you do give your body the appropriate care and attention, then my experience is that it will pass eventually. And this is maybe a bit out there, but I also think that when you reach that point where you kind of don't you let go of your expectations, you let go of this really desire, this strong need for your body to fix itself right now. I think you kind of let go of some of the pressure you're putting on your body, and perhaps that is also a factor that contributes to the swift recovery. A fourth thing that is not so much about preventing injury but more about living with injury is the mindset that one thought can also be another, meaning that I can focus all my attention, all my energy, all my thoughts on how miserable I am, the fact that I am no longer able to juggle or to jog or to do exercises or to play football. But I can also focus my energy in the fact that, wow, life is so much more. My life is not over with this injury, but it's a new beginning. It opens the door for me to try something new, to be more conscious. One thing that I'm experiencing very much with this last and ongoing injury is that I could spend my entire day being sad about my injury, thinking, especially with the news that this might be more permanent, maybe I have to live with it, maybe it's not going to improve, maybe just deteriorate. Then I found myself spending all of my energy, my entire day, being kind of grumpy about this. But then I realized that this injury, it doesn't bother me the entire time. It's not a chronic pain. It is a pain that comes every now and then, a few times a day, perhaps with the wrong movements. So it's not chronic at all. Maybe I suffer from the injury actually 1% of the time. The remaining 99% of the time, I'm quite fine and healthy. And then if I really just suffer physically from my injury 1% of my time, it doesn't make any sense suffering mentally, psychologically from my injury 100% of the time. So this realization was quite impactful for me, as well as the realization that well, when I was a child and when I got sick, I often thought, wow, I feel so bad now. How couldn't I? And I feel so much better when I'm healthy. Why? But I never enjoy being healthy. You just suffer when you're sick, but you don't enjoy being healthy. And I always thought, how nice it would have been. I should have enjoyed more when I was healthy. And I think that is, of course, extremely difficult to keep that mindset. But when I have this injury, it reminds me how lucky I am that I am healthy 99% of the time, or I feel good 99% of the time. So I think I am trying at least to implement a mindset where I use this injury not to be sad about life, all the things I cannot do, but rather to be grateful for the remaining 99% of time and activities that I am still able to do. And that for me has been very strong, and it's an ongoing process. It's not an easy mindset to implement, but it's a very important one. Also, I think it's important to remember that every time a door closes, maybe you have to permanently stop running in the mountains or playing your favorite sport, then another door opens. It frees up time for you to discover other hobbies. And one thing that has been very important, very interesting for me in this regard is the fact that every hobby, every possible activity in the world has a group of people who absolutely loves doing that activity, which means that it would be very strange if that other person can absolutely love this activity, then why cannot I? And I do think that there is some element to this sport, this activity has more to do with me. I enjoy it more, but I also think a lot of that is contextual, it is learned, and we can also learn to love new things. When I had to stop juggling, I took up unicycle, I started magic tricks, and none of these were really a substitute for juggling because they weren't as fun for me. But I'm absolutely certain that another activity could be a complete substitute. I just didn't find it at that moment. So I think something that's really important to do is when one door closes, not just walk into the first and best door, but kind of check, see what's inside all of the doors, because life is a corridor full of doors, and one of them is surely as interesting, as exciting as the room that you're coming from, but you cannot return to. So I think that's also something that's incredibly important. That was a bit about how I prevent and learn to live with injuries. I hope it was useful. Please subscribe and follow for other videos about how to live happier, more meaningful lives for ourselves and others. And see you until next time. Bye.